In this lessons episode, explore how authenticity and persistence shape lasting personal brands in the digital age. Discover why embracing individuality builds stronger audience trust and impact. Understand how repeated failure fuels creativity and resilience in entrepreneurship, and uncover why surrounding yourself with ambitious, like-minded people transforms both mindset and opportunity. So walk me through even just like building out your own quote unquote personal brand. So the brand is a culmination of things that are, I don't even know how to best describe it, like things that a man would want to figure out or learn about, or like how did you come to what
Yeah.
Alpha M is today? What was the concept?
Yeah, so Alpha M, when it first started, was just style. I was
Style,
just
okay.
talking about like how to dress, because at the time, back in 2008, the only resource for guys was really like GQ and Esquire. And, you know, it wasn't my reality. It wasn't the reality of my friends and family and people that I knew. And so I was like, maybe there's just a space for a regular guy to talk about style in a more regular way. And then from there, it kind of went into grooming. And because I've always been interested in grooming, I cut my own hair, you know, and so it was these little things that I started, you know, talking about, like butt hair. Like, you know, I was the first person talking about like manscaping online, really. And it was just because I was comfortable talking about it. And it's something that I had questions about. And so I was like, maybe there are other people that are interested in this kind of stuff, and maybe I can just be that resource. And then it transitioned into, you know, pretty much anything that a guy might be interested in, then relationships and dating and you know, pretty much just lifestyle stuff. And then I am fortunate enough to be able to give, because I am a bit older than a lot of my audience, give some just real world lifestyle or life advice on things that I've struggled with in my past, or things that I've dealt with that I feel I can just share a perspective. And so
I think you do something really, really well, and I've watched, I've watched a couple of your videos, obviously. And one thing that how you teach is, like you just mentioned, you're just telling stories. You're telling stories about stuff that you've gone through. You talk about exes, you talk about your personal choices for style, for hair, for grooming, all that stuff. Did it take a certain? Was that something that you were comfortable with, putting yourself out there, authentic? Was that something that you had to struggle with for a while, or was that, like you mentioned, the first few videos, they weren't authentic? What were they if they weren't authentic?
No,
if they
it was
weren't
me
you?
trying to be something that I wasn't, and trying to, you know, I was trying to be something that I
Yeah.
thought I needed to be in order to get people to like me, honestly.
And that shit never works.
No, it never works. And
Yeah.
so it's very, very easy to see through that. And so, yeah, I mean, that was just something. It wasn't hard. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the hard thing was trying to be something and put up a facade. And so, you know, the easy thing is just to kind of let your true self, you know, shine through, and just do you, and be authentically, you know, open to
Be authentically you.
Yeah, be authentically you. Exactly. Lots of cliches in this
So many
podcast.
cliches are there for a reason. I love it. Okay. Let's okay, what's the Shark Tank play? What's the Shark Tank experience? You were 2X on Shark Tank, right? You were there twice.
I was on
So
twice.
what happened there?
I tried to get on a third time. They wouldn't take me back. They're like, Aaron,
We're done with you, man.
Yeah, what's the story now? Like, shit. Yeah, so Shark Tank is like my favorite show. And for any entrepreneur, if you're thinking about, you know, or interested in business, watch Shark Tank. You know, the cool thing is that you can go, you know, they're syndicated now on you know, television. So every night of the week you can go and watch like episode after episode after episode. And so I came up with this e-product. It was my first stab at like an info product, I should say, not an e-product, because it was actually physically DVDs that I was trying to sell. It was an info product. I thought that, you know, a lot of the people that I'm friends with in the space of internet, you know, business and sales, a lot of guys are like, oh, the e-product. And so I came up with this style system. And so my dad was like, well, how are we going to try and sell it? I'm like, I don't know. He goes, you should try and go on Shark Tank. I'm like, yeah, sure. And so literally, I remembered it was a Friday night. I went home, I went to ABC's website, and I applied. And on Monday, I got a call, and they asked for information. And it was 3 months later, I was pitching in front of the Sharks in terms of the Alpha M style system. They hated the idea. And I was like, oh, no big deal. You know, it's okay. I'm on TV, so it's going to be great. I'm going to sell, you know, thousands of these things. I'm going to be rich. Well, the night Shark Tank aired, I had like this big party. Everybody was around, and I was sitting there with like my computer, and I was like ready for the sales to come rolling in. I literally, right, 9 million people watching the show. I sold one style system.
Get out. Yeah, you sold one? I know people that are on Shark Tank, and they get like thousands of sales.
Yeah, it depends on what it is. Apparently, that was a real wake up call. Like, hey, stupid, this is not right. And so yeah, it was a bummer. So I was bummed out for a little bit, but then, kind of got over it. And I just realized that I'm not really an e-product kind of guy. And at least not like physical DVDs. Like I said, I'm a dinosaur. Yeah, like you can't even play a DVD on your computer anymore. Like it doesn't even have that ability. And so if it was an app or if it was like a web-based like program that was less expensive, I think it would have been successful. And I still think it's a good idea. It's just it wasn't the right application, and I wasn't the right guy to do it. And then I started a hair product company, Pete and Pedro, back in 2012, 13. Somewhere 2013, I believe. I started Pete and Pedro, which was a hair product company, and I went to my stylist that I was friends with, Steven. I said, hey, do you have any connections at any of these like labs that make hair product? I think I want to come out with a hair product line. And he's like, yeah. And so he gave me a number. I called him up. They sent me samples. I called a few other labs. I got samples. I chose my products. I started Pete and Pedro white labeling products, and my opening order, I believe it was, I started Pete and Pedro for $3,000. And
That's
so,
not bad.
no, well, that includes everything. That includes my website. That includes my little stamps.com, like printing station, boxes, inventory. I had 5 products, 5 hair products that I was selling, and I got 96 units of each. And it took me like 5 months to sell through that inventory. And yeah, that was an amazing business. My first kind of business selling physical products, other than I played around. I had a website also that I tried doing for a while, a membership website where I was selling like hand strung like beaded bracelets. The problem was that I was sitting there at night hand stringing these bracelets, and so not a scalable model.
It's not fun.
No. And so I've tried a ton of shit, man. I have tried a lot of things, and a lot of things, some things have worked, most things haven't, and you just keep trying and throwing stuff against the wall and just scratching the curious itch. And that's kind of the takeaway. I'm not scared to fail. Once you fail as big as I failed in terms of the fitness center and bankruptcy and all that, failure, it's not as scary. And once you kind of get it out of the way and you realize that, okay, well, that sucks, it stings. And a lot of it, not only, one of the worst parts about when you fail in business, it's not necessarily the burden that it places on you. It's the embarrassment of having to acknowledge that something that you tried didn't work to other people. And so when you get over, at least it was for me, I can only speak for myself. But once you kind of get over the ego of, yep, you know what, I tried it at least, and you realize that most people aren't even willing to do that, And it's funny because the most people that are the most critical or the naysayers or the people that'll, say, oh, you shouldn't do that or you're wrong, they've never done shit, and they never will. They're just going to basically, they're more comfortable staying comfortable and would rather, sit on the sidelines and point fingers and say 100%. How you didn't do something right or you should have done this way. It's like, you know what? F you. I'm out here trying. I'm gonna try. I may not be successful, but at least I don't have regret, and I'm not doing something I don't want to do.
That's a damn good attitude to have. Just jumping into stuff in life, and I think that's
hard,
what you
though.
have to.
It's hard.
Super hard. But you know what you got to
Super
do? You got to find your tribe that just supports. And then you double down on that tribe, and you force yourself to be accountable by telling them what you are doing. So you know that if you fail, they're there to support you, because you don't want, and that's a tough thing, because like sometimes it's family, sometimes it's friends you've had for a long time that are just really shitty towards what you're trying to do. And that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow. But when you find your tribe, people that support you, that are also trying shit and entrepreneurial, not even entrepreneurial, just like super ambitious, if you put it out into the world, like for this podcast, for example, like I purposefully tell every single person I meet now, and now my identity has become more of the podcast. When it was first starting, it was the other stuff I was doing. Oh, I work at this job and I have a podcast on the side. Versus I lead with the podcast because that's holding me accountable, man. Like they're going to look me up and they're going to see it. And like, I don't want to fail. So I don't, I'm just like making myself do it all the time. But I think that's the tribe you have to build. People that are cool with that.
And
and they
that was,
feel it.
yeah, and that was, there was a gentleman that I met that was on YouTube, Antonio Centeno. He has a YouTube channel, Real Men, Real Style. He reached out to me, and I knew about him just because I saw it was me. I started the YouTube thing first, talking about style, and then he came in a few years later, and I hated him. I'm like, this son of a bitch is trying to steal my something, whatever. And so he actually reached out to me and he said, hey, let's get together and meet up, and why don't we have kind of like a get together or a meetup for some of these other people that kind of are in our space. And I was very resistant to doing it, but it was one of the best decisions I ever made, was kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, because I did not understand the importance of surrounding yourself with people that are sort of moving in the same direction. And and that was one of the, like I said, the things that changed my life. All of a sudden I was around people that I had needed to be around, that were all like, inspiring, like people that were trying, that were just going after their dreams and doing something different, And it was amazing, because once you do get around those people that are trying, that are striving, that are just doing things outside of the box, it is amazing how it inspires you, number one, but it also will give you ideas. And then if you ever need help, they're always, just a phone call or a text away. And my friend Jordan Harbinger likes to say, your network is your net worth, or your net worth is your network. I'm sure he stole that from somebody else. Anyway,
but it's a damn good quote. I know Jordan. Yeah, so Jordan, he has a great podcast. Dude. That's what I'm trying to go to.
Yeah,
he has a good ass podcast.
He's a rock star, right? And so Jordan, he says, and Jordan had kind of like a I can't even say that word, tumultuous sort of relationship breakup with his former business partner, and and it was hard. I mean, Jordan literally almost started like from ground zero. He had his podcast, but they had a very big, and successful coaching business, and Jordan, he was like, you know what? I'm just going to reach out to these people that I know that are friends. And he does. He every day, like, sits down and sends text messages to people just to say, hey, and just to keep that connection going. And, I think that's something so incredibly, powerful, because we get so caught up in our own lives and our own shit a lot of times that, just taking a few seconds out of the day just to connect with people, you never know when you're going to need them, or they may need you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you found this valuable, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you want to dive deeper into this conversation, check out the links in the description to watch the full episode. See you in the next one.